Thank you to both ministers for your written speech. It's very helpful, and the details. And the Minister for Transport has talked about we're an island heavily reliant on international connectivity, and that's correct. And we've had to keep our borders open throughout this health crisis in order to maintain critical supply lines and to allow essential travel. I don't think there's a single person in this country that would have a difficulty with that, but that's not what happened. We utterly failed to deal with people coming into our country, and we're belatedly now looking at quarantine. So that sentence is disingenuous, really, and shouldn't be part of the speech. Just generally in relation to transport, I agree with you that there are opportunities now as a result of COVID. And I hope, Minister, that we seize those opportunities. And if I go parochial, but with national implications, go to Galway, and to date you have refused to sanction a feasibility study for light rail. We know that Galway is one of the 5 cities destined to grow, 50% of its population increase by 2040. We know that traffic congestion bedevils the city, notwithstanding that it's one beautiful city and very lucky in relation to employment, although with COVID it is particularly affected. And I would have thought that one big difference you could make is to sanction a feasibility study for light rail. And why do I say that? Because you more than anyone know the contribution that transport makes to our greenhouse emissions. Indeed, at the moment we're working in a vacuum since the judgment on the last day of July, which found that our mitigation plan wasn't fit for purpose. A very unusual decision by a unanimous 7-judge Supreme Court, who said the plan isn't good enough. It does not set out clearly enough for any reasonable citizen to know what was going on. So we're working in a vacuum, and in that vacuum, even COVID hasn't managed to allow us to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions significantly. So one way is a feasibility study, so we can have it out of the way one way or another. The second thing is to ensure that there are park and ride facilities in Galway. 2005, and your colleague Minister Nocton knows this very well, the objectives were put in the plan, and here we are, 2021, and no park and ride has ever been rolled out in Galway City. Now, these are practical things. Equally, during both lockdowns, we've had better facilities on the prom, but as soon as we lifted those facilities, we went back to the old way in Galway. Now, I'm utterly on your side in relation to all of these measures. What I'm frustrated with is the tardiness. We're using language to say there are opportunities, but we're not seizing those opportunities to make lasting, long-term changes to our city, to our country, so that we comply with our obligations, not under national legislation, because they're not clear enough. And as I say, we're in a vacuum, but for future legislation that we bring in. Thank you.
I do hope that we can advance the feasibility study on a light rail system in Galway. And similar to what we're looking at in Cork, to connect it to what we need to immediately do in the likes of rolling out bus connects for Galway, and look to see then can that be upgraded, is my sense in both Cork and Galway as to an approach that we might take. And similar, as you say, that this time, the next time coming out of whatever lockdown, that we maybe keep some of the measures that are in the prom, so that actually we could transform the seafront in Galway and have it there on a test base even for 6 months to see what would the summer in Galway like on the prom with that space held over. And I know Deputy Nocton and other councillors, we've had extensive discussions about that. I think that would be a brilliant benefit to the people of Galway and any visitors this summer. Hopefully they will be able to come.